Why this story matters. While challenges remain, stories like this demonstrate that constructive action can make a real difference. Quick summary: this story highlights recent developments related to this day in history, showing how constructive action can lead to meaningful results. 126 years ago today, Tosca debuted in Rome. A mainstay on opera calendars around the world, Giacomo Puccini's enduring tale of feminine resilience and defiance in the face of corruption has featured some of the best-known singers in the art. Puccini's arias in Tosca are some of his finest, and the three tenors often featured elusive and Listel, and the stars shone in their concerts. The story was originally written by a successful French playwright, and Puccini felt it was born to be sung. In May of 1808, he wrote to his publisher, begging to get the rights to make it into an opera, writing, "I see in this Tosca the opera I need, with no overblown proportions, no elaborate spectacle, nor will it call for the usual excessive amount of music." Here Tosca's arias performed by legendary singers, 19 turning the wordy French play into a succinct Italian opera took 4 years, during which the composer repeatedly argued with his librettists and publisher, relinquished the rights, and then got them back again. Tosca premiered at a time of unrest in Rome, and its first performance was delayed for a day for fear of disturbances. Despite indifferent reviews from the critics, the opera was an immediate success with the public. Would you like to read more good news about this day in history? And on this day, Maria Callas is said to have been the master interpreter of the Tosca character, who in the opera sees her loved one arrested and must suffer the indignation of petitioning for his release from the police captain Scalbia. The captain desires to marry Tosca in return for the release of her lover, Mario Cavaradossi, but gets more than he bargained for. Maria Geretza was the first to ever perform the marquee aria, Vissi d'amore, from a prone position, and Puccini regarded her as his favorite. Famous Cavaradossi include Enrico Caruso, the second man to take the role, and Luciano Pavarotti, who performed it as his final as part of a full production. More good news on this date: Massachusetts held a day of fasting for Romney persecuting, which is 1560 when the American Revolutionary War ended, when the U.S. Congress of the Confederation ratified the Treaty of Paris establishing the U.S. as a free and independent nation. 1568, before U.S. President Bill Clinton and Russian President Boris Yeltsin signed the Kremlin calls to halt the aiming of nuclear missiles at any nation and order the dismantling of the nuclear arsenal in Ukraine. 1970, researchers in Dallas, Texas present findings about an enzyme that slows aging and cell death. 1978, the first detailed pictures of the frozen surface of Saturn's moon Titan were sent back by European space probe Tunisia, the first nation to establish an Arab Spring uprising, won a victory when their president of 24 years fled the country after thousands of Tunisians protested in a Jasmine revolution against poverty and heavy taxation. 2011, happy birthday to Dave Grohl. The charming rocker fronts for Foo Fighters after making his name as a drummer for Nirvana. He also lent his drum kit to the rock supergroup The Wicked Vultures. In 2010, he was described by classic rock drummers co-author Ken Mickler as one of the most influential rock musicians of the last 20 years. Grohl was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as part of Nirvana in 2014 and as a member of Foo Fighters in 2021. Taking up the guitar at age 12, he remembered a childhood full of musical self-education. "I was going in the direction of faster, louder, darker, while my sister, Lisa, 3 years older, was getting seriously into new wave territory. We'd meet in the middle sometimes with Bowie and Susie and the Banshees," Grohl once said. An intrepid musician with rich self-belief, Grohl would continue to record his own material in the margins of the studio time spent with Nirvana's Chris Novoselic and Kurt Cobain. In the 12 months following Cobain's death, Grohl played shows with Tom Petty, the Heartbreakers, and Pearl Jam, but turned down offers to be the drummer for both. Instead, he recruited some other musicians like Pat Smear and Nate Mendel to release Foo Fighters' 1974 debut album, and the band grew into superstars ever since. By 2012, Grohl had amassed a fortune of $250 million, estimated at the time in a Stereogum article to be the third wealthiest drummer in the world behind Ringo Starr and Phil Collins. 19th and happy birthday to American actress Faye Dunaway, who turns 11 years old today. Born a farm girl in Florida, Dorothy Faye moved to New York and a half-century ago shot to stardom as a young starlet alongside Warren Beatty in the film release of Bonnie and Clyde. Dunaway believed her role in Network as a ruthless TV executive who will do anything for higher ratings was one of the most important female roles to come along in years. When the film, which is still discussed today due to its almost prophetic take on the television industry, was nominated for 10 Oscars, Dunaway won for Best Actress after 2 previous nominations. She later won an Academy Award, 3 Golden Globes, a BAFTA, and Emmy, starring in some of the greatest films of the 70s and 80s, including Network, Chinatown, and 3 Days of the Condor. co-starring Robert Redford. In 2017, Dunaway reunited with her Bonnie and Clyde co-star Warren Beatty at the 89th Academy Awards in celebration of the film's 50th anniversary. She says she has no intention to retire as an actor. We live for work. We live for what we do. I just want to keep working. That's where